Greetings! Some of you know that I am a minor fan of vintage electronic toys, particularly electronic games that make use of vacuum fluorescent displays, such as my Entex Pac Man 2 game here from 1981 that you may have seen before. You may know that I am quite a big fan of this game. It makes great use of a very big dual color vacuum fluorescent display, and the gameplay is absolutely excellent. It's an excellent battery-powered Pac-Man game. I am a minor fan of Pac-Man. I like to play a bit of Pac-Man once in a while. Well, in today's video, I have another handheld Pac-Man game to show you. It's not vintage, but it is old, and it uses, like this game, interesting display technology. And here it is right here. This is MGA Color FX2 Pac-Man, and it was made in 2001. Well, actually it was copyrighted in 2001, but it was made sometime from the early to mid-2000s. MGA Entertainment was founded in the 1970s as Micro Games of America, and throughout their entire history they have made several handheld games based on LCD displays. In 1998 or 1999, they introduced their Color FX series of handheld games, which were notable for their use of color LCD displays. And of course, color LCD displays require backlighting in order for you to see them, and so the original Color FX games used a rather novel way of backlighting the displays. The backside of the display had translucent plastic behind it so light could shine through it, just ambient light in a room. They had no electric backlight. And so light shone through the display, and the display was projected through a mirror, and then you would look into the mirror to play the game. And it worked quite well. And then around 2000 they replaced the Color FX series with the Color FX2 series, which replaced the passive backlighting with an actual active electric backlight using LEDs. Several Color FX games have been made. This one, Pac-Man, is definitely the most popular. There have also been Ms. Pac-Man, several card games such as Solitaire and Free Cell, and then some other arcade titles like Asteroids. And besides handheld games, they apparently made keychain-sized Color FX games as well, although I've never seen one. Anyhow, MGA discontinued the Color FX line sometime between the mid-2000s and the late 2000s. I haven't pinpointed that yet. But as for this game, back in the mid-2000s, one Christmas, it was Christmas of either 2006 or 2007, I actually saw this game in the Sears Wish Book, which is the Christmas catalog if you don't know. And I actually wanted it. I didn't get it, but I got lots of other stuff, so no worry about that. But yeah, 6 or 7 years ago I actually saw one of these in a Christmas catalog and I wanted it, but I never got it. And so since then I've always kept this in the back of my mind, and I finally got one on eBay. I got this for $4, and unfortunately I overpaid on shipping. I paid $9 shipping, and then I looked when it came, and I looked at the tag, and it only cost $3 to ship. So, oh well, that's alright. So I paid, plus the $3 fee to get it to Canada, I paid $16 for this total, which is okay. It's in perfect shape. So we'll take a physical look around it here. You can see part of the case is translucent, so you can see inside it, which is pretty cool. You can see the piezo beeper there. Battery compartment, it takes 4 AA batteries. It came with batteries that expired in March of 2011, but they're still in good shape. They're not leaking any corrosion, and the compartment has no corrosion in it, which is cool. You can see all the guts in there. Here's the tag. They actually licensed it from Namco, which is really cool, something Entex did not do with their game. Copyright 2001, made in China. And as for buttons here, start down here first, you have on-off. You have a button to select either 1 or 2 player mode. This does have a 2-player mode. How it works is, player 1 takes the game and plays until they lose all their lives, and then player 2 takes a game and plays until they lose all their lives, and then I guess whoever has the highest score wins. The button is also labeled check, which I do not know what this means. I haven't found a manual for this game, so I have no idea what the check is supposed to mean. I've tried it in different circumstances of gameplay, and it doesn't seem to do anything, so I don't know what that's for. You have a button to turn sound on and off, which is very key because I love games that can mute the sound, and this thing is quite loud. And you get a nice sticker here with the official Pac-Man logo and Pac-Man graphics, Color FX2. You have a button to start a new game. Then to start the game, you can also pause the game, which is really great. And another great feature is, if the game sits idle for a few minutes, it'll turn itself off. You can turn it back on, and you don't lose your game that you paused. It's still there for you to resume, so that's really great. And then you have a four-way joystick here, which is actually really nice to use. It uses micro switches, which is very nice because they're very durable. They can take a lot of pressing. Of course, the only downside is it's pretty loud. I can't play this thing at night if I wanted to, without waking Mom up. The Entex I can, because it just uses regular push buttons. But of course, the problem with the Entex is the push buttons, of course, start to wear out. This thing actually has slightly worn Player 1 push buttons, although they still work alright. But yeah, micro switches, which is pretty cool. And then of course the color LCD display, and it's backlit with 4 LEDs, 2 on each side. And yeah, there you go. So, how does MGA Pac-Man from the Color FX2 line, one of the last handheld Pac-Man games, stack up against Entex's Pac-Man 2, the first handheld Pac-Man game? Well, it brings me great displeasure to say that in a couple of ways, this thing actually slightly disappoints me. Now, don't get me wrong, I am glad I own it, and it is fun to play. However, it has some flukes in its design, in both gameplay and hardware, that kind of knock down the points for me. First of all, the display kind of sucks. It puts a horrible taste in my mouth to say it because I'm always a fan of innovative display technologies, but it really does. It just kind of sucks. I'll tell you why it sucks. First of all, in the advertising and in the packaging for this game, the color display looks like it's composed of multiple colors that are pretty vibrant. You know, it shows a blue maze, red dots, a yellow Pac-Man, yellow ghost, yellow indicators at the top, and some red indicators on the top. And that is totally fake. The display is actually composed of a yellow maze, yellow dots, red Pac-Man, blue ghosts, and then all the indicators on the top are yellow and red. So the colors, you know, aren't actually used as vibrantly as it seems like they're used on the promotional pictures on the packaging. But really, I don't mind that. What really gets me though is that the display is backlit with green LEDs. I am not kidding. Who in their right mind designs a color LCD display and then uses green LEDs to backlight it? I'll show you in a moment what the display actually looks like. I'll turn this thing on. But it uses green LEDs, which first of all, don't backlight it very brightly at all. This thing is impossible to play outside, and it is slightly difficult to play in even regular room lighting. Really, you have to be in a dark room so you can see the display. Especially because since the ghosts are blue, they show up very dimly. The blue and the red, actually. The blue and red elements are quite dim to show up on the display. The LEDs do not adequately backlight it. And I did check the batteries. The batteries are just fine. Another thing is, though, because they're green, everything has a green tint to it. The maze, the dots, and all the other yellow elements are kind of a yellow-green. The red elements are kind of a brown, and the blue elements are just kind of a really dim gray color. I hate to say it, the display in this thing sucks. And what I don't get is, MGA didn't make the same mistake on all of their Color FX games. I've looked on some of their solitaire games, which I'd like to get a solitaire game, and if I do, I'll review it here on YouTube. That's the only example I know of right now, is their solitaire game actually uses white LEDs to backlight it, and it looks fantastic. I've seen real photos of the solitaire's display, and you can make out all the colors just fine, and it looks great. But the display in this with green LEDs to backlight, it just doesn't look very good at all, and that kind of disappoints me. Really, that's the only disappointment in terms of the hardware design. Other than that, this thing's friggin' great. And I think the the whole concept of a color LCD display backlit is great, but I think they did a poor job at executing it. I think if they had just replaced the green LEDs with some brighter white LEDs, not only would the colors be a lot better, but it'd be a lot easier to play in regular room lighting as well. There's probably no hope for this thing playing outside, but they could have at least have made it so it'd be easy to play in bright room lighting. And another thing is, I just wish they hadn't have advertised it in the images as having a more colorful display than it actually does. As for the actual gameplay, it's actually really great. There's only one thing that slightly frustrates me though, is that it's friggin' challenging. This game is hard to play. First of all, because of the size of the display, you wouldn't be able to fit the whole maze on there unless everything was really tiny. So what MGA did was, they split the maze into 8 segments that you travel through, and every time you reach the end of one part of a maze and enter another, the display changes. And it kind of makes sense. The only problem is, that means you don't know where the ghosts are unless they're in the same part of the maze as you currently are. So you might be heading towards another part of the maze, and all of a sudden a ghost pops out of nowhere from that part and you lose a life. So it makes it quite challenging, and that's not particularly a complaint, but it's just something I'm not used to. This is a very challenging game. At first it kind of flabbergasted me, but now I know why. They only put 6 levels in this game. Entex's game has 300 levels, but this only has 6, and when I first heard of that I thought, oh my god, you know, half an hour of gameplay, you'd be done all the levels and that's it. But not so, because it's quite hard, and so far, I've played this quite a bit, I've only been able to get to the 2nd level, so it is quite challenging. Other than that though, the gameplay is quite fantastic. First of all, whereas MGA actually licensed this thing to be made, they actually incorporated the real Pac-Man maze. One night I spent a couple hours just, you know, going to different parts of the mazes and then pausing the game and drawing up the maze in paint. And when I was done, I looked and it turns out that it's the actual 1980 Pac-Man maze. So that's pretty cool. And another thing is, it's composed of 166 dots, which is the most I've seen in a handheld Pac-Man game. Before, Entex was the most I've seen. Their maze has 80 some dots. This has twice that, so that's pretty cool. And of course, it's composed of 4 power pellets in the corners of the maze. And there's 4 ghosts, so in terms of actually copying, you know, how the actual game works, this thing does pretty good. What kind of surprised me though, quite of a pleasant surprise, this thing has something that no other handheld Pac-Man game I've seen has in the gameplay, and that's the pair of testicles that show up in the center of the screen that you go and eat for extra points. This has that, and that's pretty cool. The only thing is though, what's weird is, if you eat all of the dots in a maze and the pair of testicles is still there, you have to eat them before you can advance to the next level. So you know, you've eaten all the dots and you're expecting to go to the next level, and then you wonder why, and it turns out you got a pair of testicles in the center of the maze you got to eat still. And then you have to risk losing a life to try and get those, and that's kind of annoying, but I guess it just adds to the challenge of this thing. So, without further ado, I'll turn this thing on and you'll see what I mean about the display. There it is, and you probably can't see that very good on camera. All it's showing right now is that it's in 1 player mode, the sound's turned off. You start off with 3 lives, one of which is used when you start the game, so 2 extra lives really. There's 1 extra life which you can earn at 5,000 points, and although I'm not sure, I think there's another extra life you can earn. I haven't reached it yet, but I think it's probably at 10,000 points. The most points I've ever gotten so far is around 9,300 and some. And then of course that just means you start out on level 1. But yes, as you can see, the display is really hard to see. You can see the 2 LEDs there, 2 LEDs there. It's not as bad in real life as it is on the camera. Tell you what, I'll turn all the lights out and see if we can get a better picture here. Well, I turned all the lights out and that still didn't help this camera, so I put it into auto gain mode, which allows it to turn the gain up a little higher than when it's in regular gain mode, at the expense of a slightly choppy picture, and it turns the image stabilization off, but oh well. Well, I think this is about as good as we're gonna get, but you see what I mean anyhow. So I'll start a new game here. and I'll just pause. So you can see here, there's the ghost pen with the 4 ghosts in it. They come out pretty quickly. And you can see some of the dots here. There's a little pause indicator here. Actually, it says pause with an exclamation mark. And you can see here's the 8 squares that show the different parts of the maze. And for the first time ever in a video, my camera's gone out of focus. There we go. And the blinking part's the part we're in right now. Now, what I think is a really nice feature is once you eat all of the dots in a particular part of the maze, that square will go out once you leave the part of the maze. So it won't be lit anymore and you'll know you've completed all the dots. And if I remember right, when the pair of testicles show up, it shows up in this part of the maze right there, I believe, where that dot is in the center of the video. That's where they show up. If they're there and you've already eaten all the other dots, then the square will light up again and you'll know you gotta go and eat them. But here it is anyhow, and I'll just do some short moving around here. There you go. So you can see now we're in that part of the maze. Oops. I hit a ghost. We restart in the center. Oh, there is the escape tunnels here. Show up on the other side. Oh, see, it's quite challenging, especially when you can't see a flippin' thing. Well, I'm looking through the cameras why I can't see a thing. In real life, it's okay when you're in a dark room. But I'll eat a power pellet here. And pause here, so the sound of the dots change and power lights up. And another nice feature is power starts blinking when it's about to run out. Each dot is 10 points, a power pellet is 50 points, and I kind of forget what the ghosts are, but I'll keep going here. There's a ghost. There. Oh, I think I got 50 points? Not quite sure. I'm looking through the actual display now. I'll eat this power pellet. Actually, I'll wait till a ghost comes along. I'll sit in the corner here. Oops. There's a ghost. Now, when he comes along, I'll eat him and see how many points I get. Oh, did I get 200 points? Oh. Oh, wow. So it's actually probably 200, 400, 800, and then 1,600 points when you eat the ghosts. So you can rack up a lot of points just by eating ghosts. So what I'll do now is I'll set this camera up on the tripod and we will play a full game on this. Alright, we're all set up here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in and hope the camera doesn't fall out of focus. I'll turn it on here. Maybe that'll help it focus. There, I turned the light out and that seemed to have helped. So anyway, without further ado, we will begin. No! Saw that coming. Hey, how about that? Got all 4 of them. 3,500 points already. I got the extra life already. Where am I going? I guess I should go left here. No ghosts, which is good. Get these last three. And I'll head up again. See, this split maze thing, it's quite challenging sometimes. Oh, I'll wait till he comes along and eat him. No testicles yet. Uh-oh. Ah! Sheesh. I'll head up. There's dots there. Shoot. Alright. As you can see, a lot of the game is just trying to run from the ghosts. Oh, shoot. Oh, no! There we go. 4 dots there. Great. Oh, God. Ah. Shoot. 1 dot there. I'll take the escape route. Hope that ghost don't come back. Oh, yeah, right. Run! I'm almost there. Oh, I see the testicles showed up, so I'll grab them. There they are down there. There's like 1 dot left in this maze. And the fact that I haven't seen a ghost in a few seconds scares me. Ah! Oh yeah, 1 dot right there. Jeez. See, this is why it's so challenging. Oh, God. Oh, jeez. We're still on the first level, remember here, folks. First level. And now I know why they put only 6 levels in the entire game. Ah, shoot. Oh no. Oh. We probably won't make it to the 2nd level. Oh, jeez. Oh, wow. Can't believe I escaped that one. Well, I think that's it, folks. Well, that's it. That's actually pretty good. Especially for not ever leaving the first level, 6,610. See, you get a little red game over symbol there, and there it is. I'll probably have to brighten this video up in Sony Vegas, probably. Yeah, so there you go. Overall, good game. I wish I'd have made it to the second level. If I remember right, when you advance to a level, it just plays the music again, and then everything's the same as before. And that's it. Well, there you go. For this game, that's definitely good enough to call a full playthrough. Another interesting thing I forgot to mention about this game is that MGA not only licensed Pac-Man from Namco so they could make this game using all the official graphics and stuff, but they also had to license technology from Nintendo. And some of you may be wondering, well, what does Nintendo have to do with a handheld Pac-Man game? Well, I was very surprised when I learned this. I just learned this recently. Nintendo actually holds the patent for handheld video games that use a color LCD display, which I was very surprised when I saw this. Apparently, Nintendo does indeed hold the patent for that technology, and I can see why they patented it. Because now that I think of it, I think Nintendo was actually the first company to introduce a handheld battery-powered video game that used a color LCD display. It was part of their Game & Watch series of video games. I remember the only one, I think there were a few of them, but the only one I can remember off the top of my head was a Donkey Kong Jr. game they made that used a color LCD display. Backlit using ambient light through a translucent piece of plastic on the back of the display. So they actually patented that, and I guess MGA had to license it from Nintendo as well. Between that and the license for Pac-Man, these things weren't actually cheap. These retailed for like $20 or $25 new. So, in terms of gameplay, how this compares to Old Man Entex, really, I don't think they compare at all. I think personally the Entex definitely trumps MGA here. The ability to see the full maze here, just like the arcade game, and you can see all the ghosts, and also this game has level selectivity, so you can select skill levels and how many ghosts you play with. And between that and the display you can actually see, and of course because it's a vacuum fluorescent display, you can even see it outdoors. With that in mind, I think, you know, even in terms of gameplay, the Entex Pac-Man 2 here is a lot better than this. But this game, on its own, I think is pretty cool. My only real complaint is the really sucky display that's really kind of hard to see. But the actual gameplay on its own is quite good, and I think it's good because it's quite challenging due to the display being split up, and the inclusion of the testicles is pretty nice. And yeah, I think on its own, it's pretty cool. It might not compare to the older handheld Pac-Man games, but by itself, I think this is pretty nice, and I'm glad to have it. But with that in mind, I'm thinking someday, if I ever feel rebellious enough, I might take this thing apart, because it doesn't look like it'd be too terribly hard to unsolder the 4 green LEDs that backlight the display and replace them with white LEDs. So someday I might actually try and go about doing that. So there you go, there's the MGA Color FX2 Pac-Man handheld game from the early to mid 2000s. Only took me 6 or 7 years to get one of these after seeing it in a Christmas catalog, but I'm glad I have it nonetheless, and I think it's pretty cool. So there you go, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.